Reprise de débat. The honourable member for Port Moody Coquitlam.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And we're here today debating the Canada Disability Framework Bill because of the incredible work done by the disability community. Individuals, advocates, and allies who have worked tirelessly to express to all members of this House the urgent need to improve the lives of persons with disabilities living in poverty in this country. Their work has been difficult and powerful, and it's not finished yet. As we speak, disability organizations and advocates are gathered in New York City, attending the 16th session on the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, still fighting for equality and human rights for persons with disabilities in Canada and across the globe. This is the work they should not have to do, Madam Speaker. Persons with disabilities should not have to face discrimination and should not have to navigate the many barriers that are currently in place. It is our work here in this place to remove these obstacles. And that is what the NDP will continue to do, as we have always done. My colleagues and I are disappointed that the Canada Disability Framework does not yet meet the requirement of upholding human rights and does not ensure every Canadian with a disability is protected from poverty. That is why the NDP will hold this government to account to work collaboratively with the disability community, to meet their expectations, and to create regulations in Bill C-22 that will put an end to disability poverty. C-22 initially came to this House incomplete and clumsy. New Democrats worked to improve it, proposing an assurance of an adequate income that conforms to Article 28 from the CRPD that states the rights of persons with disabilities to an adequate standard of living for themselves and their families, including adequate food, clothing, and housing. The Liberals should have accepted that. Yet in the committee, they would not even allow for the debate. And the Conservatives abstained from having a vote on that debate and for standing up for human rights based on that amendment. Abstained from even considering it. Fortunately, even when that opportunity to debate the need for adequacy, the NDP were able to include adequacy in regulation. And that adequacy has been enhanced with an amendment from the other place, which I appreciate. Making adequacy even stronger, yet not absolute in stature, is better than not having adequacy at all. It will now be left up to the Minister and Order in Council to honour the intent of adequacy and to honour the trust extended by the community and this House and build a benefit amount with a foundation based on human rights and adequacy, and to protect from clawbacks of any kind, including public insurance companies and in the negotiations with provinces and territories. We all know that provinces already offer unequal benefits and some clawback funds from those living with a disability. In Alberta and Nova Scotia, for example, a person can only make around $10,000 annually before they experience clawbacks of their benefits. The provinces and territories do not have benefits that match the financial requirements to live in Canada. This government must work to ensure that wherever you live in Canada, your location does not indicate the quality of life you have access to. New Democrats have stated that this benefit must be an amount that will actually lift people out of poverty. We know Bill C-22 is urgently needed, and it has been delayed far too long, over and over again by this government. The community has been forced to wait and wait, and that delay by these Liberals has created a rush to the finish line. I have received hundreds of emails and phone calls asking for this government to get this bill passed, and those voices can no longer wait. The New Democrats will not ignore these Canadians. We will advance this bill while still holding this government to account, like we always do, Madam Speaker. The fight continues, and this government must do the work to ensure they meet the expectations of the disability community. New Democrats will hold this government accountable to work with the provinces and territories to ensure private insurance companies are not the beneficiaries of this funding meant to go directly to people with disabilities living in poverty. With the implementation, this benefit must do its work and not enhance the pocketbooks of corporate Canada. This Liberal government must not leave people behind again. In addition, it is time for this government to acknowledge that an immediate interim support is needed. As this bill progresses into 2024, Canadians living with a disability in poverty cannot make ends meet. The reality is that right now, poverty continues to be forced on them, and they must choose between paying their rent or buying groceries. One more year of waiting or more is not acceptable. The government must provide, in good faith, financial relief now for these Canadians who are suffering as they wait for this benefit. Financial relief is needed today. The minister has said that they do not want to work on a disability emergency response fund while working on C-22. Those living in poverty don't have the luxury of that choice. Today, the NDP asks again for the government to enact an immediate relief payment, what the community is calling DERB, as the community is asking for it. The delays in this process have shown Canadians that the Liberal government is not concerned about upholding the rights and dignity of persons living with a disability in this bill. They know about the inadequacies of provincial and territorial benefits, yet they sit by and choose not to act on it until they are forced. Unless, of course, they are acting on behalf of corporate Canada. The NDP has seen this government support legislation that put millions of dollars into greedy CEOs' pockets instantly, while they drag their feet on investing in pharmacare, accessible housing, employment insurance and reform, and protection of Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. Almost 1 million people, Madam Speaker, in Canada live with a disability because of the discriminatory practices and ableist government policies that exclude them. This is unacceptable. The lack of accessible homes, inaccessible infrastructure, and limited inclusion in the workplace creates barriers that have resulted in poverty. Legislated poverty that past and present Conservative and Liberal governments have perpetuated. This bill is a welcome step forward to provide Canadians living with a disability new supports. I appreciate that. But this new benefit must be adequate and accessible in 2024. I wrap up by acknowledging the toll this process has taken on the disability community and all the hard work they have done to get us to this point. Your work has brought results, and I look forward to the co-creation to now begin. Rest tonight to the community on your win, and know that the New Democrats will continue to fight alongside you again tomorrow.